Private Investigator Advice Podcast, episode 41. This is your Private Investigator Advice News.
This is a PI Advice Podcast.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, yeah, here we go. What's going on, you guys? This is Andrew. Just going to be sharing some PI news with you guys for this week that I thought was interesting. Yeah, so we're going to get right into it. An article written by Connor from The Atlantic, which I found at the pifeed.com, said mass surveillance of all car trips is nearly upon us. Well, I'll be honest with you, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I got into the article and I was reading. It said basically discusses how the Department of Homeland Security is exploring the ability to obtain a national license plate recognition program. This, as reported in this article, would allow law enforcement to identify subjects and something with ongoing criminal investigations. They also say that they're not going to hold all that data. They're going to have a commercial company called ICE, which stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to hold all that stuff. So the main point of this article was that, there's already too much abuse and power. We've already got quite a bit of infrastructure out there already that can find people. And I do know that there are devices in law enforcement vehicles at the moment that can scan license plates and tell you whether the vehicle is stolen or not. And it's almost instantaneous, apparently. So the police officers don't have to just be driving down the road and plugging in license plate numbers. This one will already do it for you, and they do it. So, a lot of people come up with the conclusion of, look, if I'm not doing anything wrong, then why would I be worried about this? Well, it's never what's happening now, but it's always the abuse of power, in my opinion, and what could potentially happen in the future. They even cite a couple instances where police officers who had capabilities of using some of this technology ended up blackmailing people because they were tracking vehicles around town, and apparently one or two individuals was going to a gay bar, and so the police officer decided to blackmail him. Now, I don't think this is just exclusive to police officers. I think this could be exclusive to anybody who has their hands on that information. And listen, we're just human. You can't trust everybody. Like the government and the government entities they might start off with well intentions or good intentions. But, typically, you get a little bit of power, they tend to abuse it, and then they justify it. I did hear on the pipeline, though, somewhere, and was it? Might have been something like IRB or TLO. I can't remember which one, but they were going to have access to some of this technology to track license plates, to find out where some people have been. I'm going to have to look back into that because I don't know much about it. I remember seeing it a while ago. I don't know what happened with that. Okay, moving along. This is for the Private Investigator blog highlight. Cusick and Cusick wrote The Anatomy of a Missing Person, and they basically get into the demographics of, not only just numbers of, like such and such amount of people we were reported missing, and then, how many of those were retracted, like within the next day, like, oh, we found the person. Also, it goes into like demographics of race and age and things like that. Definitely interesting. One of the things that Cusick and Cusick is really good at is research. And that's one of the things I've seen in their blogs. They might not maybe always have firsthand knowledge to be like the best missing, for instance, best missing person finder. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but they're one of those blogs that cites their sources, and that's something I've seen over and over again. And good job with that, Cusick and Cusick. So check them out. I think it's oh goodness, it might have been cusickandcusick.com, but I'll post the link in my show notes, so you can just go to that blog from there. Another one I'm going to highlight is my blog, I wrote Colorado Private Investigator Licensing, Senate Bill 14-33, why I think it's bad for new private investigators. So I go spreading my blog around and I throw it into some Facebook groups. And one of the things that I saw is that the conversation didn't go as I thought it would for this licensing program. Now, I only picked a bone with one aspect of the license. I have no problem with licensing in general. I think there's quite a bit of good things in it that I actually need to write about in the future. So it wasn't the fact I didn't write about this because I had a problem with the licensing. I think that's a great thing. What I didn't like was the fact that they were creating two levels, which I'd reported about before, and which basically gives anybody new a little bit harder of a time, possibly and potentially, when starting off their new business. And if anybody knows, if you've been to the Private Investigator Vice website, you're probably somebody who's trying to get into the industry, who's struggling in the industry, who's new to it, just learning, or maybe just trying to figure out if you can get in. But one of the trends in this industry is it's not very easy to get into. All states have these different licensing programs. Some require that you work for a company. Some require that you just take a test and all these different things. So there's no like across the board gateway to this industry. You know, some people have to go other places. Some places aren't licensed at all and not regulated. But needless to say, I thought that everything in the license looked fine. There was not a huge threshold to get in for with their level 1 license. But at the same time, I think that the people that have already taken advantage in Colorado of this no licensing program and have gained their experience and started a business now are trying to protect that. And they have influence on this bill. And, no offense to them, but I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. So that was that. So check that out. I'll post a link on there. If you can't see it on my website, it'll be in this post for this news podcast. Another thing that caught my eye was from the Homeland Security Newswire. It says a first, constitutionality of NSA warrantless surveillance challenged by terrorism suspect. So apparently a gentleman by the name of Jamshid Mut something. It was a really confusing name, so we'll just leave it at that. Who's a refugee from Uzbekistan, is facing terrorism charges in Colorado. He also is challenging the constitutionality of NSA's warrantless surveillance program. If I remember correctly, I don't have it all written down here, but I think him and a couple other men were caught by potentially going to blow up some area in a Christmas tree lighting, I guess, in Colorado. The thing is that I guess there's some debate as to whether, if they obtained that information that they were going to do that illegally or illegally, how that could affect this case. So I'll post it in there. There's a lot more in there about it. But it kind of goes into what's, in my opinion, if the NSA is finding things and terrorism or whatever, just people in general that aren't terrorists, and they're finding bad things that are happening, and they're finding it illegally, I guess according to the law. Then what's the point of it if you can't use that information? I mean, it might have. You can say, "Well, it stopped a bad thing from happening." Well, yeah, it did. But if you can't prosecute that person, I mean, what are we? I mean, and I think these things are probably far and few between that we're catching things with their outreach. I don't know. I don't have a firm grasp on all the web of the NSA, but I don't know if this guy gets away with it, right? Well, I don't know. It's kind of very disappointing if the NSA just didn't do it the right way and got a warrant or whatever they needed to do. I'm not a professional on this, but just get the warrant then. Just get the warrant, save the day, and put the bad guys in prison. All right. So let's see what else we have here. How's everybody doing, by the way? You guys doing good? You guys staying busy? I know it's getting slow out there because I've spoke to some counterparts in some different states, and it's just, I think I don't know, man. It's February. I better start picking up because it's look at this. Look how many podcasts I'm doing now. It's just amazing because I've had so much time on my hands. Okay, and a GPS helped unravel Plant City police officer chief's police chief's officer affair. So that was a tongue twister there. Basically, a man was kind of got a tip from his friend saying, look, I think they thought that the police chief in this town was having an affair with his wife. So, like any concerned husband, he stuck a GPS to his wife's car. And on a specific day that his wife said she was going to go to a friend's house, that I don't know the details of that, but him and his father drove just to make sure he didn't do anything stupid, followed the wife. The wife goes to a hotel room and I guess is in there with the police chief for a couple hours. They then leave and go to a restaurant, and this is where the husband comes into the scene and he takes pictures of the wife and the police chief after leaving the hotel at this restaurant. And some words were exchanged, and he also sent that picture to the police chief's wife via text, who then in turn texted the police chief and said, "Get home." The man, Jason Hardwick's wife, who was having the affair with the police chief, they both went down. They both went back to the hotel. Apparently the main concern of this guy, this police chief of who had been having an affair, was he was more worried about his job than his family, than the person he's having an affair with, his wife, his children. All he could talk about was, I think I'm gonna lose my job, or something to that effect. So one of the interesting things I'm sitting here listening to is, well, first of all, this just shows you how, this maybe should have been shared on Tech News Today, but, GPS is, it's just amazing what they can do. And, we have similar capabilities. I've talked about, Find My Friends, and, was it Find My Friends on the iPhone app, where you can track phones and see where they are and, literally find out where they are. It's just going to be a bigger part of our technology. Obviously I know private investigators are doing this now. I actually read another article, which I don't know why I'm not reporting on it, where it briefly talked about how a private investigator tracks people in infidelity cases, making quite a living on it. Well, one of the main things was when they were reporting on it, the private investigator wouldn't actually show them him doing it. And he also specified that the vehicle that he would track was justified because the individual that owned it was, so if he wanted to track the wife that was cheating, the husband would be on the registration and the owner's title as well. So he owned it, so they could track the vehicle because he was given permission. But he wouldn't do. He said he had a harder time justifying the boyfriend and girlfriend thing. So he said, when it comes to stuff like that, I don't use GPS. I just go old school and just follow him. So anyways, that just about wraps it up for the Private Investigator News today. I think I covered everything. If you know of a blog that's out there, or you find an interesting news item that kind of could potentially relate to this industry, and you're interested in sharing or letting other people know about it, email me at piadvicehq at gmail.com, or just go to the Private Investigator Advice webpage to check that out. And then go to the contact page and say, hey, look at this. I got this cool article. You're welcome. And I'll say, thank you. And that way we can share some stuff that maybe I don't find. I mean, there's just so many things out there that are being shared. Also, while we have about, it's February, so there's 28 days this month, and this is being recorded on February 21st. Investigatormarketing.com has a 10% off, a 5-page website. If you're on the fence or you're having problems, wrapping your head around a website, it can be done. You could do it yourself. But with my experience, and if you follow this blog for any amount of time, it takes time to kind of wrap your head around building a website and finding out what the best things to use are and what's the least expensive way to make it look awesome, right? And so it took me the better part of 2 years to kind of get to where I am now, which isn't saying much, right? And I'm doing this stuff all the time. Or you could pay $600, $700 to buy a website, which is potentially a day and a half of work for your own business, right? This could potentially pay for itself after 2 days. And have Ruben over at Investigator Marketing build you a website. You know what? And if you're just on the fence, just talk to him. Let him just say, look, this is what I can do for you. And if he can't do anything for you, then, you've lost nothing. You lost the time it took to talk about it. So give Ruben a call. Having a website is more imperative than ever now. That's, more important than a phone book. When the phone books, everything's online. So the higher you can be ranked in the Google search results, because let's face it, folks, that's where everybody's getting their information from, the better chance you have of getting some phone calls into your business and keeping afloat. Getting that missing person, getting that find my friend, getting that phone call, or my cheating spouse. I need your help. So give them a call. In fact, go to investigatormarketing.com, click on the contact page, get a hold of them, and say, hey, just what can you do for me? So, folks, with that being said, I enjoyed our time together today. And thank you for joining me on another episode of the Private Investigator Advice podcast, where in this episode, we share news and events that I feel is important to you and is fun. And, that way you don't have to go find it. You just come here and I'm going to find it for you. And then you click on it and you can go see all the cool things that are out there. Let me do the work for you. All right. Anyways, take care. And I will talk to you soon. Tech News Tuesday is just around the corner. Oh, yeah, you can dance. It's cool. Before I let you guys go, I just want you guys to have fun when you're here. When you're visiting the Private Investigator Advice website, I want you guys to have fun. I want you to learn stuff, right? It doesn't have to be all stuffy. We can still be professional and have a good time, right? All right. I'll see you guys later.